Great to have your company for another edition of the Cricket Show. Over the years, Australia has had some brilliant left-arm seamers. None better than the great Alan Davidson. He was pretty handy with the bat as well. Paul Lockyer has more.
It was the thrill of a lifetime. It was always my dream to play on the Sydney Cricket Ground. And the thrill of walking out through here, where you walk down through the members, is just an incredible feeling to think that all the other great players that have walked onto this ground before me, you know, and you think, gosh, it's happened. The dream's there.
In the 50s, Alan Davidson emerged as a great all-rounder, penetrating opening bowler, punishing middle-order batsman, and he had such reliable hands in the field, he was known as the Claw.
You know, this turf is just so special, and you hear the aura of the crowd, and I think that's the thing here. You've got open spaces, you've got grandstands, but you're surrounded by open air. There was always that beautiful nor'easter breeze that comes through from beside the Bradman stand.
But the Sydney Cricket Ground, where Alan often performed so brilliantly for state and country, has changed dramatically since the time he took that last walk from the middle.
Where the O'Reilly stand is now is, of course, was the old Bob stand. You know, we had the hill, the famous hill.
Doug Walters stand now?
Doug Walters stand now, and the old scoreboard. And of course, down where the Churchill stand is, Clive Churchill stand, was the old Sheridan stand. I can remember putting a couple of sixes up there at different times. And then, of course, where the Brawongle stand is was the old Brawongle. But of course, there was a big dome there, and I hate to say it, but I hit Colin Cowdery for what was my biggest six, I think, ever. And it hit the dome, otherwise it was out into the street outside. But
it'd be hard to get a six over the Brawongle stand now, wouldn't it, Alan?
Well, I'd say that if anybody can get it up there to that height, I'd say that it'd be one of the biggest sixes ever.
He's hit him high into the outfield for 6.
It was far from the SCG, though, that Davidson turned in one of his finest batting performances. An unbeaten 77 in the 4th test of the 61 Ashes Tour, which helped clinch the series win for Richie Benaud's team.
But they may not save 4. There it is. Davidson's 50.
But we were attacking players. We like to take the initiative, take the game to the other fellow, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But basically, the whole concept of cricket was about taking the game to the other fellow.
In 44 tests, Davidson took 186 wickets at a cost of just over 20 runs apiece. But he says circumstances were in his favour when he started his first-class career with New South Wales.
So it's renowned now as a spinner's wicket. Was it always like that, Alan?
No fear. Back in the late 40s when I came in, it was, you know, the new ball was due after 40 or 50 overs, then 60 overs, and certainly it was a green top. It was a green top wicket. Spinners really didn't get much of a go.
The green top went when the curator moved to Melbourne. These days, Shane Warne would like to take the Sydney wicket with him wherever he plays. But just as a champion spinner makes the most of the SCG conditions now, so did Davidson in his era.
But in the old days, Alan, when you were charging in here on what was a green top, what was it like for the batsman? Did you ever think about him?
Never think about the batsman. When you're bowling, you never think about anybody but yourself, you know, when you're bowling. You've got a job to do, you know, regardless of what it is. And if you're a batsman, well, as I say, well, he's there to be hit.
Alan Davidson has more than a passing interest in his old home ground. He's been overseeing improvements to the Oval as part of his responsibilities as a member of the Cricket Board Trust. The entire outfield was dug up in the biggest operation since the turf was originally laid in 1870 to loosen up a surface that had become rock hard underfoot, compacted during the football season. Then the new grass was planted. For all the changes, though, the Sydney Cricket Ground still resounds with the stories of a rich past.
Some wonderful memories of the game, and this ground has probably got more memories, I think. If you were to go to anybody, Sir Donald Bradman, Bill O'Reilly, Richie Benaud, Neil Harvey, in his last game here, got 220 odd in what was his final game in first-class cricket. And the bowlers against him were David Sincock and Gary Sabers bowling spin, and they were turning it a foot.
And so the tales go, layer upon layer of SCG legend.
And your best memory in walking off this ground?
Probably a 5 for 25 against the Poms here. On a wicket that was never got above stump high, and to take a new ball and see it move and curve and do everything you wanted it to do.
Warm memories for Davidson, nightmares for his opponents.
Probably the saddest day was the last day I walked off, which was also Neil Harvey's last game. But the memories far outweigh all the other special things.
Performances that give the once great pace bowler a special place in Australian cricket history.
At the Sydney Cricket Ground, Australia and the West Indies met in the second test for what fans dubbed the World Championship. Thrills soon woke this pair up when Lindsay Hassett sent the visitors in. Our bumping pace attack was shared by Ray Lindwall and the unpredictable all-rounder Keith Miller. Worrell scored a brilliant 64 and the visitors total 362.
Yes, we're watching the Australian under-19s smack it round the park here. Cricket's at the grassroots level. But who can we trust to steer this new generation of cricketers into the 21st century? Captain Grumpy? No. Coach Relaxed. Now, AB, it's not a bad-looking bunch of boys you got here. How much influence have you had on them so far?
Well, very heavy influence so far.
Is that right? No, really?
Yeah, they're a bad bunch.
They actually look quite cheerful.
No, they're going all right so far,
Yeah?
but give me a couple of weeks and we'll whip them into shape.
Yeah, mate, this bunch of blokes, they're unknown at the moment, but
Yeah.
as soon as they step into the Australian side and start making a score or taking some wickets, we will take them to our bosom like long-lost brothers.
We will
Shall we
do.
meet some of them?
Yeah, why not?
Now,
Timmy Anderson's the captain.
Timmy, now, I tell you, you can tell, just looking at this bloke, he's got that cheeky look on his face, right? He'd be the head sledger, right?
We don't sledge in this time.
Now, come on, AB. Now, as coach, you've got to be coming up to the boys. You probably got a whole class in
Well, I
sledging,
suppose I've got
don't
to
you?
treat them here. Yeah, we do have Thursday nights, isn't it? Sledging night.
Now, what about down to 10 tax, AB, have you started to teach them how to drink 30 cans on the flight?
Yeah. Well, we've got longer bus trips, so we should be able to do a bit better than that.
What do the boys call him?
Stay B normally. First of all, it was Mr. Border, and then he said, no, don't worry about that, boys. Just Alan or AB, whatever you want, mate.
A few of the boys weighing in with the Mr. Border at the start, were they?
Yeah, a few of the boys. I was the starter of Mr. Border.
Well, the boys have wrapped up the series against New Zealand, and you've mentioned South Africa.
South Africa, yeah.
And, well, if you look at the squad now, and in a short matter of only a couple of years, a lot of those South African players have become household names, haven't they?
Yeah, Hansie Cronje,
Hansie Cronje,
Jonty Rhodes,
Alan Donald. And what about the young quickie they're bringing?
the young quickie? Who's
Yeah,
that?
the,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, we won't name names.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be good.
Okay. Well, we were talking to Dean Jones the other day, and he said that you once upset the West Indies pretty badly, and the boys came off second best. Do you recall that?
Well, I suppose, yeah, good on you, Dino.
This is what we do. Every time we speak to someone, we get some dirt on the next person.
Yeah, I suppose we got to a point where, you know, we had a gutful losing to the West Indies, so we tried to be a lot more aggressive out in the field, you know, sort of taking the game to them a lot more. And there was one day where Patrick Patterson came out to bat, and we were into him a little bit about, different things, you know, stupid, most of it. And he fired up, and of course he came in the dressing rooms at the end of that day and sort of gave us the big warning about tomorrow. You know, you blokes, you tell AB, you know, we'll tell me on tomorrow, this sort of caper, and of course it was.
That could be the end of it. Border's gone.
He bowled like the wind, got 5 wickets, and we lost the test match, and all the boys blamed me for firing him up.
What was the most memorable flight you've been on?
Most memorable flight? I'd have to say the Australia, like Sydney-London leg, of
Was
1989
was that
tour.
the legendary Booney
The legendary
performance?
Boone effort. I don't think it'll be beaten in the current circumstances.
Well, was Marshy downcast that his record had been broken?
I think he was a little upset because I thought he'd reckoned he'd set a pretty hard mark. So, yeah, Boone, he's a quiet achiever, young David.
It's a victory for Australia by 9 wickets, 4 runs.
Now, mate, the cricket coaching, it's a bit more scientific than coaching football. You know, football you get a lot of fire and brimstone, but wouldn't really work in cricket, would you? You can't go, OK, you two blokes, get out there and bat, and the rest of you just wait around for a while. It doesn't sort of work, does it?
Yeah, I'll show you my style.
Is that right? Actually, I was taught to cut by Keith Stackpole.
Is that right?
Yep, oranges mainly.
Yeah.
But show us some of the styles, some of your motivational prowess to get some of these guys going, huh?
OK. Shannon, good luck, mate.
Thanks.
I think that's going to do the trick.
That's for you, Trev. Come on, mate. We've got my boys to concentrate.
Yeah, huh?
I want you to take off, all right? Just go for a bit of a lap around the ground or something, you know? Cool off a bit.
Well, in the car?
Yeah.
OK.
You wouldn't believe it. Out! Yes, he's got him for a duck.
Oh, and that's out, caught behind. Yes, he's got him for a ball. Got him! That's well bowled, Shane Warne.
I suppose there's lots of deliveries that stand out in my mind as one of my favourites, but I suppose you guessed it. My favourite dismissal is Mike Gatting in England in 1993. The reasons being that we're in England, I'm playing my first test for Australia versus England.
1 for 80 here at Old Trafford. Shane Warne is to come on at the Warwick Road end.
I'm standing at the top mark, it's my first ball. I'm a bit nervous because I haven't played against England before and it means so much, Australia versus England.
They bowled to an orthodox field for a start, just a slip.
I come into bowl and I generally just want to start a normal spell. I just bowl a few leg breaks to get myself into a bit of rhythm, bit of momentum, get into the feel of the game.
First ball in Test cricket in England for Shane Warne.
So I've come into bowl, let go of the delivery, feels pretty good out the hand.
And he's done it. He started off with the most beautiful delivery.
It was one of those things that just happened, and watching Healy's reaction behind the stumps, and it was just an enormous feeling, and it's pretty hard to describe how good it felt to do it.
Gatting has absolutely no idea what has happened to it. He still doesn't know.
And listening to what Richie Benaud says gives you a bit of a, you know, makes the hairs stand up on your neck.
Kenny Palmer just gave him a raised eyebrow and a little nod, and that's all it needed.
And it's not until later, until I have a look at the replay, I realised how far it actually turned. I thought it was just a leg break that turned a little bit.
Well, that has turned about 2.5 feet. Gatting can't believe his eyes. What a start for Shane Warne.
Sitting in the pub in 20 years' time, and instead of turning that far, it would have turned that far. And I suppose even when I'm 75, it would have turned even further. Yeah, it was probably my favourite delivery I've ever bowled.
Changing the field. Look at that ball turn off this Old Trafford surface.
Oh, middle stump as well with a full toss. Speed-wise, 141.9. He just gets faster and faster.
If I'm turning the ball a long way and the batsman's starting to pick me, it is time for some variation. One of the good variations is the top spinner. This ball will go straight on and kick up at him. Whereas a normal delivery will turn appreciably towards slips, the top spinner will hold its line somewhat and bounce a little more, endangering the shoulder of the bat or batsman's glove. I have fond memories of this delivery.
Shane Warne, a great moment in his career. What a catch by David Boone.
Once again, the grip, 2 fingers down, 2 fingers up. The ball sits in there nice and comfortably. And instead of going sideways for the leg spinner, we go straight over the top for the top spinner. This action imparts overspin on the ball, which means when it hits the wicket, it'll bounce and kick up at the batsman. Convincing the batsman that they are getting your standard ball is the key here, so that they will get themselves into the wrong position. With a bit more pace on it, the batsman has less time to alter his shot. Once again, the grip, 2 fingers down, 2 fingers up, ball sits in there, spin the ball as hard as you can and straight over the top.
And yet most fascinating of all games. Throughout the British Empire, it is an institution, and few countries have excelled Australia in the production of brilliant exponents of the art. Names such as Bannerman, Hill, Cotter, Noble, Gregory, Maley, to mention but a few of the giants of the past, will live longer in the public memory than those of politicians or even statesmen.
I've worked a lawn around for 5 or 6 years now, so I mean it is a bit sorry that I can't keep it up full time, but I mean that happens. I'm trying to put a bit of time into cricket and hopefully try and get somewhere with it. So that's just part of life, I guess. If cricket doesn't work out in down the track, I guess I could come back to it if I really wanted to. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing that you've got to give full-time work away. But I mean that's part of playing cricket, I guess.
There's nothing new about what summer does for suburban lawns, but the growth spurt in young South Australian Bradley Young's cricket reputation is creating a clash of priorities. Whether it's a mower or a well-flighted left-arm finger spinner, there isn't time to push both across the couch.
It is hard during the season, especially once we're playing and touring. It's always hard. I mean, last year I struggled a great deal. I was working mornings before games and Sundays when we weren't playing and that. So it's a little bit easier now that I've sold half of the round. I'm only doing it sort of 3 days a week. But even that during the season, it starts to get on top of you a bit.
In the Port Adelaide under-13s, Bradley starred as a 10-year-old. He played A-grade at 16 and a couple of years in state second 11. Inspired by Shane Warne, he was the patient understudy to Tim May for the Redbacks.
Shane and even Tim to an extent. Last few years he played Test cricket. His last Ashes tour he bowled, I watched a lot of that and he bowled really well. So I mean that was, I guess, a bit of an inspiration to keep bowling and try and improve and get to first class cricket and see what happens from there. So yeah, Tim was, I mean, an inspiration, yeah.
The retirement of May gave Young his start last season, and though it wasn't a good one for the Redbacks, he impressed enough to be a fringe consideration for an Ashes trip.
One of the worst words that was ever invented is probably potential. And I think Bradley's got all of those sorts of things, but most of in his favour is his hard work and his willingness to really have a go at what he's doing. Now, in time, he's had 1 season, and he took 23 wickets. He made 450 runs. He ripped the life out of the game at 1 or 2 points, but now he's got to rip the life out of it and win cricket matches for South Australia, both collectively as part of the team and individually turning the game. So in time, we'll find out.
When the Redbacks came down off their high of winning the Sheffield Shield last year, Young found himself joining a team minus Brayshaw, Nobes, Blewett, Gillespie and of course Tim May. Working in tandem with leggy Peter McIntyre, it opened his 23-year-old eyes.
Blokes are looking to take you on, especially last year as a first-year player. They back themselves to have a crack at you. So, I mean, it can work in your favour, it can work against you at times. But, I mean, everyone takes a bit of stick, through their career. So, I mean, it's happened last year, and I guess it's bound to happen again at some stage.
There's a very big shortage of spinners or good quality spin bowlers, and he's one of those types of guys that can leave a batsman stranded and can spin the ball past his bat. And he's left arm off spin, so right-handers find him a little bit difficult, and he hits the ball beautifully. He made a lot of runs for us last year, and yeah, he's definitely future Australian material.
Meanwhile, Kai Kuyu and Buffalo beckon, the edges urge Brad on, and the clippings must be collected. It's a bit like bowling. If you're not pushing, you won't achieve. Length must be consistent, line accurate, and tired legs ignored.
You get sick of it?
Lawn mowing?
Yeah.
In summer it gets pretty hard when it's, you know, mid-30s and up to 40 degrees and it's stinking hot and you're out there cutting lawns and you could be at the beach, but that's part of, I guess, it's work and you've got to do it, I guess. So.
Does it say about you that you're a self-motivator? That you're a get out there and have a go sort of guy?
Yeah, I think so. I try to. I mean, same as cricket, I'll stick my hand up to do anything that, you know, Jamie gives me. So, I mean, work's the same. Especially being self-employed, if you don't push yourself to you know, work hard and earn some money, you know, you're not going to make anything out of it.
Bradley's appetite for work would reassure those concerned about the future strength of our game. With Adelaide a bit more of a spinner's track these days, the Redbacks mower man wants to be there for a while.
I want to be consistent this year. I want to take a lot more wickets, play a bigger role in the side and helping us win games on third and fourth days, with Macca, I guess, bowling sides out. What happens from there, I mean, who knows? I've just got to be consistent at first-class cricket and do the job for Jamie and the blokes there.
Time to pull stumps on today's cricket show. Be with us tomorrow when we drop in on former Aussie paceman Rodney Hogg. We'll catch you then.
Smoking it.